Hi everyone, it's Emily, and every now and then I like to rearrange my shelves for various reasons, whether it's to accommodate new things coming in or going out, or just make some space for consoles I really want to focus for collecting purposes. I think I speak for many collectors who value ownership and true physical editions that a lot of us are very disappointed with what Nintendo's doing, especially for third-party releases on the Nintendo Switch 2. And I really just don't envision my collection to be that big. There's not a ton of first-party games I usually buy for Nintendo systems. I'm very much more of a third-party enjoyer when it comes to my games. A lot of third-party JRPGs, visual novels, and platformers. And so I think the bulk of my collection when it comes to the Nintendo Switch 2, whenever I eventually get that system, is just going to be something from Monolith Soft, like hopefully some Xeno release will come out, Fire Emblem, and Zelda. And I think that's about it, which, given, I guess, how many releases happened on the Switch, I can envision more than maybe 15 games max. They'll be eventually in my Switch 2 physical collection. And because of that, I don't think I need to devote this entire lower shelf here to my Switch 2 collection. So basically what I'll be sharing in this video is how I'm going to be moving my PS4 collection to make space for expanding my PS5 collection down to my lower shelf there. And the reason why I want to, I think, bulk up my PS5 collection physically is because I think we've just been seeing this as sort of the savior of third-party true physical games. And I know there will be some people in the comments saying, what do you mean, PS5, you have to download and do all that stuff just like the Nintendo Switch 2? And that's false. There are so many examples of a lot of third-party games where if you bought the physical PS5 game, you don't have to be hooked up to the internet at all in order for the game to play. And play well. It doesn't need to have extensive patches or updates or things like that. So those are the physical releases I'll be focusing on for my physical PS5 collection. And I could definitely see the entire row here between my two shelves being taken up by PS5 releases. And as we enter the holiday season, I've already seen some great deals pop up for like $15 PS5 releases that I've had my eyes on. So I'll be skipping up probably some of those and sharing them perhaps in a haul video in the next month or so, and kind of share the progress of my physical PS5 collection. And as I kind of round out some of my other collections here. So I'm going to take you on a little reorganizing journey here and see whether or not all my PS4 games and some of the PS4 games I want to maybe buy in the future, they're going to fit down on that lower shelf. And then for my Switch 2 collection, once I buy a Switch 2 collection, I will have to figure out where those go. I think for now, my lone Rune Factory Guardians of Azuma is just going to go somewhere on my Switch 1 shelf, since it doesn't really need to be isolated by itself down there. All right, so here's a little overview of my somewhat revised shelves. I did some reorganizing because I had a lot of new Trails items coming in, especially for Trails in the Sky First Chapter there, and this gorgeous Elaine figure from Kotobukiya. I'll zoom in here. And if you're familiar with my shelves, you may have noticed that I moved some of my Sky things down to this lower shelf and moved Calvard stuff up there. That's just because there's going to be so much more Sky stuff coming in the next few years, most likely. We have Trails in Sky Second Chapter coming out next year that I'm super excited for in September, and Trails will just live on for a little bit here. Fire Emblem here has not changed, but, you know, with Fortune's Weave, things may have to be revised down there eventually. One of the big things that I changed was my e-shelf. As you see here, a lot of things have been consolidated, and I really wanted Donna and Adel to be on the same shelf there, so I've just basically put as many things on the shelf as possible just so that they all fit, and I think it looks very nice. I know some people don't like these shelves with the metal bars that are kind of in the way from the view, but I think they're fine. I also don't know where to put my Ys 9 Collector's Edition. It is right there, and I'll have to figure out what to put in the shelf. I'm assuming this will just be some spillover with my Falcom things that will eventually wind up and find a place there. I guess to get into the crux of this video of why I'm making this, I have a very extensive Switch collection, as you can see here. And I don't think my Switch collection is going to expand much. I made a video about this, how I want this to be kind of kept to 200 games. You can see that I have all sorts of games here. I do not organize by alphabetically, as I know some people do not enjoy seeing, but this is what makes sense for me. It's easier for me to find games by sorting by genre and publisher. That's kind of how I've accommodated these and all my indie games that are stuck on that lower left Switch shelf. And then I have my PS2 games down here, and here is my lone Guardians of Azimuth for Rune Factory. This is a Nintendo Switch 2 edition, so you can play this on a Switch 1. I got this because I was excited for the game, and eventually I'll get a Switch 2, but I really don't need it isolated down there by itself. And here is my PS5 collection. I have quite a number of JRPGs mostly that are on here. The PS5 has the most games I probably want to add to my collection, and so this is really not enough space. And here is a nice little close-up of the new steelbook for Chosen Sky First Chapter that finally arrived. It's beautiful, but it took much longer than it should have. And then here is my PS4 collection, and I don't really see my PS4 collection expanding much more. I still need to get Lunar remastered, but I would say that's kind of the only title that I'm truly missing. I may change some games over that I may have purchased on the Switch when it comes to some third-party games, and then rebuy them on the PS4 because they run a little bit better. And it doesn't really seem like there's a vast improvement if you play those Switch games on a Switch 2 device. So that might have to expand a little bit, but for the most part, I think this PS4 collection I could put down in that spot I have previously mentioned to allocate to that. And then just to see the rest of my shelves for those curious. All right, so I cleared off some space. I've put the Guardians of Azuma on my Switch shelf, and I'm going to just basically transfer my PS4 shelf down here on the lower part. So all of these Trails games I already have on other systems, the Switch and PS5. So they're kind of redundant. So they're going to temporarily be moved here. Probably I'll put them back in their respected collector's editions where they came from. Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus, also redundant because I have the new Switch version, which has the new localization. So that might be removed too. Ease Memories of Zelda. While that is getting a Switch version, I'm going to keep my PS4 version probably out and not buy the Switch edition. And then here is Grandia HD Collection. As I mentioned, I still need to get the Lunar Remastered HD Collection, which is thankfully on sale. Probably get that over Black Friday. Now here are the Square Enix titles I have for the PS4. Not many, just Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 15, which is not a true physical, but it's the way I was able to play it cheaply. So those go on the shelf. And then some Atlas and Sega. So Valkyria Revolution, Soccer Wars, and Odin Sphere, Leaf Berserker. Now for my Koei Tecmo games, Blue Reflection and the Knights of Azure 1 and 2. So those will also go on the shelf. I do not have any of the Atelier games on the PS4, which may be a mistake because I do have on the Switch. Maybe someday I will change them up. But Bandai Namco with Tales of Zestiria, Code Vein, and Digimon World. Next Order. I've been thinking of getting more Tales games on the PS4. Now that I've been playing Tales of Exilia on PS5, I've been getting into Tales and kind of like them on those systems. Mega Man Battle Network Collection. The only, I guess, Capcom rep I have. I'm moving them there so that all the RPGs are kind of next to each other. Since Code Vein's not really a traditional JRPG. Zenki Zero from Spike Chunsoft. Then there is Berseria. It's a sealed PlayStation Hits game. I've been thinking of trying to find just a regular edition to put there, but I think I should put this with Zestiria since it's kind of a prequel to Berseria here, so they probably should go next to each other. Now for some platformers, I have the Gravity Rush games, Psychonauts 1 and 2, and Ratchet and Clank. So I'll put the Gravity Rush games together. Then I guess I'll put Ratchet and Clank there. And I also have Uncharted, so it's not really a platformer, but I guess I'll put it there since it's Insomniac. And then Psychonauts, which I got from my collector's edition that's above there, but I wanted the games easily accessible. So yeah, definitely running out of space, so I will be removing the Trails games here. So there's the Cold Steel games, the Crossbell Duology, and I also need to grab Cold Steel 3 and 4 just to make some more space, these are going to go right back into the collector's edition boxes that are already also displayed on my shelves, just so that I don't have redundant games on the shelf. Some more games, Mass Effect Collection, BioShock, and God of War will also be going on the shelf there. And just doing some loose organizing. Honestly, because I don't do alphabetical ones, these might have to be rearranged a little bit just to have, the genres all together. But there is Shadow of the Colossus, The Last Guardian, and Red Dead Redemption 2 to round off my regular editions. Now I have to deal with all these steel books and steel cases. So what I was doing with my Switch steel books, which you kind of see here in the video, I've been placing them behind my Switch games. I'm thinking of getting a shelf to elevate them a bit more. But because this is the lowest shelf that I'm working with my PS4 games, I'm just going to stack them right on top of the standard cases. That way, it's just going to be a lot simpler to see them at a glance and not look behind the shelves, if you will, to where the steel books are poking out, because I don't have really that much space to allocate them just right there on the organized shelf with the regular editions. Mostly because, as I mentioned, there's a couple of PS4 games I think that will go in those spots eventually. But anyway, I just have those 5 different steel cases and steel books. And some room for that Lunar Remastered Collection and maybe something else. There's a PS4 game you guys see that I probably should get, let me know. Here is, again, a close-up to all the titles I have. And I know that there are a ton of great games in the PS4 library. I do have some of them in some of my other collections here, like on the Switch or the PS5, but I really just don't see my PS4 collection expanding too much. And now I have all this sweet space for my PS5 games. I went ahead and sort of organized them, having the JRPGs on the right side. So this Honkai Star Rail box here that does not want to stand up, I'm putting on the left side with my non-JRPGs. And I'm really just excited to see more expansion for these PS5 games and just moving around, the objects that I just find so much joy in when it comes to gaming as a reflection of my gaming tastes on these shelves. And I'm just really pleased with how everything has turned out. Here is an overview of the shelves and all of that room I now have for my PS5 collection, which is very exciting. And I'm just kind of floored. I know I often get comments about how I need to buy new shelves to make room for my collection, but as you can see here, I didn't really get rid of any games. All I did was reallocate and reorganize, and you can make space simply by just doing that. If you have games that you want to add to your collection, and also, of course, plenty of opportunities to curate and whittle down your collection as well, if you so choose to. But I hope you guys enjoyed this collection here. And I want to give a quick thanks to all of my channel members who help make videos like these possible, as well as my live streams that I do both here on YouTube as well as on Twitch. And I try to do a lot of live streams to showcase a lot of new releases, especially in the JRPG realm whenever possible, so that many of you can decide whether or not some of these new releases are worth picking up for your collections. And also a big shout out to my Ornament Architect level members, Dr. God and Trin. Thank you so much for all your support. So that's all for me. I'd love to hear if you guys have reevaluated some of your console allocations and collecting when it comes to modern systems, and whether or not you're planning to pick up a lot more PS5 games than maybe you had in the past, due to what Nintendo's doing for the Nintendo Switch 2. Anyway, I'd love to hear what you guys say down there, and until my next video, bye guys.